Well, I've got the sound enabled. I don't know. Can you guys hear me at all out there? So Rum is saying yes. That's great. I've forgotten how to see my microphone feed, but that's okay. Well, I had quite a setup here. We had a bank of clouds roll in, so I don't know if we're going to be clear tonight or not. But, and it's also very frosty. I was doing the dance with the hairdryer, driving the frost off the lenses. Hopefully it'll be okay. So let's see, I was going to try using my RSpec spectrum, the SA100 diffraction grating on the camera tonight. And I was going to see if we can get the spectrum of a nice Class A star. One of them is gamma trianguli, and if you see it right there indicated on the map right now. And I don't know, let me see here. What I need to do, I still have some more set up here to do now that I've got the scope in shape. I think its alignment is going to be okay for us. And so let me do some adjustments here. First thing in MallinCam Sky, if I go back to that. So that's Polaris. And so the initial go-to looked to be pretty good. That's the Star Polaris and its spectrum, its primary spectrum off to the left. I have to go outside and rotate that and focus the spectrum. So you'll get to see that in a second. Okay, so I'm on my Hewlett-Packard laptop, and with MallinCam Sky, I know I have to run this on single processor. So here's my task manager, set affinity, take all these processors off, and I'm going to activate CPU 3 and say OK to that. So we should be OK with MallinCam Sky if I don't have to reload it again. Okay, so I think I need to get just a spectrum of about that brightness should be fine, and I'm going to magnify this and it's out of focus. And let me see here. What I want to do is drag this down like this. So I've got to go outside and I've got to rotate. I've got to rotate the field of view about 180 degrees. I'll be right back. So what I do for that, you're watching me do everything here. I'm supposed to have all this set up. So I have a program called Splash Tot Streamer, and I'll put in my password. Oh, try it again. That should do it. So what this is doing is linking me to this site that allows me to do a Wi-Fi connection to my iPad. So I'm setting this up. It's giving me a code now, and then I go to my iPad. And have to open the Wi-Fi channel. So recently I solved a problem I was having with a nice strong connection to Night Sky's network, and that was to buy a new router. So I have a new Gen 4 router in the house from Verizon. There we go. iPad is linked to the router, and our Wi-Fi channel is open. And then I go to the App Store and click on my download purchased apps, and I see Splashtop Classroom. Splashtop sells a number of flavors of their linking software, and this is downloaded from the App Store. Okay, so I have to type in a session code, which is right there, 135-004. 890 and join. So I'll get exactly this laptop screen. Okay. This laptop screen showing now on my iPad. Sorry about that. Well, your screen is wrong. Ron, can you hear me now? Okay. Well, okay. 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 Okay, that's still alive. Okay. Okay. Well, let's see what will happen. Hey, it looks like it's live. All right, let's try it again. Okay. Mark, thanks. Glad you can hear me. Why am I talking about my new router? It looks like it freaked out on me anyway. Okay, so I've magnified my image a little bit. I'm going to go outside now and focus that spectrum, and I'll be right back. Before I focus on that, I think I want to do a go-to, because Polaris does have hydrogen Balmer lines, but they're not terribly impressive. So let's do a move here where we go to, I'm going to go to Gamma Triangulum, right there. So if I click here now and to the cursor, it's not See if it's, yeah, it is. Here it comes. So the telescope is approaching the target now. The flashing white X in my SkyTools program. There. Okay, so we're on the target I want to be at, and let's go back now, and I'll minimize this, and you can see that this star is considerably fainter. So let's see how I have, I'm set up a maximum gain, and we might reduce that later if we need to. And I'm going to take it right on up to a couple hundred milliseconds on 300 milliseconds right now. And I see it flickering, so it looks like it's live. Now you're not going to see much until I get this focused, and then we'll begin to play with it. Okay, be right back. Okay, let's see. So I flipped the orientation 180 degrees, and I tried to focus, and let's increase the exposure, or better yet, I want to work with the histogram down here, and I'll just brighten it by doing this. And I'm going to, I reduce the white set down to about 100. And now I'm going to reduce the exposure time. I'm going to have to do better than this. Maybe skies are kind of turbulent tonight. Okay, so I had the histogram at 75, 0 to 75, and now I'm going to, you don't want to saturate that spectrum. That's the thing. So I don't know if that's frost causing it, but it looks kind of indistinct and vague to me. I'll go out one more time and see if I can bring out bands in that spectrum. That's better. That's getting a little better. But it's still pretty fuzzy. I'll drop the exposure a little bit. Yeah, to something like that. I think I've got some frost on it. I got the dew heater going to drive off the frost. Well, let's see what we can do with this. So we're going to grab a brief video clip of this. And then we're going to look at the spectrum of this in RSpec. So I'm going to preferences and looking at my video frame. We're going to call this gamma triangulum. And the time limit, the frame limit, we'll give a frame limit of, say, 50. And say OK. So I've got the target folder is something called test. And if I just record now, let's see if we got something into the test folder. Yes, there is something there. Let me throw that out. Just want a few megabytes, not gigabytes. So I'll leave this open and let's try this recording one more time. Oh, you know why it is? I didn't do an ROI around my specimen, and that's really important. So we're getting killed. This is the DS16m camera, so we've got a huge 16 megapixel camera, and I want to use the ROI tool here of MallinCam Sky. We're going to just isolate a little piece of this screen. That should be better, so I'll apply that. And now we should be able to record this. There. It was on for about 2 or 3 seconds, which is about right. So let's go ahead and now open up RSpec. So this is the main RSpec screen, and I want to adjust this so you see the full screen. Hang on a second. KVY cam, and we're going to adjust the select an area, and I'm going to pick most of this KVY area. So you can see it. Okay. So the program is called KVY Cam, written by Tom Field. He's the owner of Field Tested Systems, and he sells the SA100 grating and his nice software for analyzing spectra. And so we're going to go down here to the lower left corner. I'm going to pick video file, and we're going to open the test folder, and there's the gamma triangulum file. There. So now we have a live spectrum of gamma triangulum hopping about. And our job now is to get this fixed up so that it is workable. So I'm going to rotate the image to bring it horizontal on the screen. And get rid of that now. And then I've got to make the spectrum cleaner. And you see it's jumping around a lot and it's very noisy. So I'm going to take these delimiting lines, these lines, to limit the area over which we're going to see the spectrum. So what we're looking at on the right is the spectrum of the image over there, the video image over on the left. And all these columns are being summed across the area that I just defined. I don't know how many it is. It's probably on the order, given the size of this chip and very tiny pixels, it's probably on the order of couple hundred maybe. But these columns that are running like this, all the columns in that image, we're going to take them and sum them up. So here's another look at the columns that we have isolated here, right here. And you can see there's a lot of zeros there. And then as we get into the spectrum, you can see that pixel values are increasing in value. So it looks like this spectrum is kind of a weak one. I've only come up to about 140, 150 out of the 256 limit for an 8-bit image. I'm going to put this down below my screen so I can see you guys. Okay, so I'm happy that we have restricted our view on this video to the part that's important. And I can actually improve this a little bit by grabbing my cropping tool and just taking the relevant piece of this spectrum, something like that. And I'm going to click crop. Oh, that doesn't work for videos. Okay, that's just for still images. So we did our cropping anyway over in MallinCam Sky, so it doesn't matter so much. Okay, now there are 3 steps I can do to quiet this image down and make us see it better. One is over here on the right. You can't read it probably. And you know what I haven't done is, sorry, I didn't fix my screen here for you all. Gosh, I've been talking a mile a minute and you've not been able to see anything. That's good. And then the resolution, we want to go up to 1440. And then the frame rate is high and talk is okay. So I'll click OK. And that should be better now. Is that better? Can you see it better? Okay, so at least I can see my screen now where you are. And then the next thing to do is try to knock this background down. So over here on the left, under the video panel, is subtract background. So I'm going to click that, and it drops the background down. So what it's done is outside of the limiting lines that are shown in orange over there, it's picked 10 columns above and below the specimen and gotten those values, and is using it to subtract from each of the columns. So it's a good background subtracting method. And then another thing we can do, instead of looking at each and every pixel, because I'm kind of oversampled here, I can do some binning. I'll bin the video, and that helped a lot. Look at that. So that's done by just digital binning on the video, in RSpec. And the last thing I can do that really helps is with averaging. Let's average 10 frames in the video. And look at how that quieted it down. It's still jumping around a little bit, but it's a lot quieter. Let's see. I've heard nothing but silence from the peanut gallery over here. Can you guys hear me at all? Maybe I'm not connected. Mark, Rum, RK, Jack, can you hear me? Well, if you can't hear me,
because you're trying to make sense of your world based on a very incomplete picture. It's like looking through the knothole of your...
I hear the blipping sound that somebody's added a comment, but I cannot see it.
The real underlying flaw in your life is that you don't think that
Let me try adding some text.
I am. And if you knew me and how much I love you, and even when you don't,
Well, that shows.
you could know that I am.
Mark says yes. Oh, okay. So it's working. That's great. Okay, so this is called the raw spectrum, and you see the first, the zeroth order component is the star gamma triangulum, the spike over here on the left. This one. And then this is the first order spectrum of the star right over here. So you'll notice that the x-axis, it says pixels. I don't know if you can read that or not, but it does say that, and I need to change that so it's reading in angstroms or nanometers. And I use, I've been using angstroms, which is tens of nanometers. So let's see. Maybe what I'll do under appearance is give it a title, give it a name. We'll call it gamma triangulate. Gamma triangulum. Like that. And then close. There, now we at least gave it a title. Now let's go ahead and do the conversion. And that's not too difficult to do with a spectrum like this, because these major dips and notches that we see, these are all from absorption lines in the hydrogen spectrum of the star. So what we need to do is we know the wavelength of some of these dips, and using that number, we're going to calibrate the spectrum, because this distance is linear across the whole range. So if I know the wavelength, say, for this dip right here that I'm pointing to, that's beta, the beta line of the hydrogen spectrum, then the whole spectrum will be calibrated, and we can test it by putting a grid down. So let's do that. So I'm going to pause the video. It's a video loop, and I can run the scroll bar back and forth, and I'm looking to see if there's any area here that is better or worse. They look very comparable. So we'll just pick this area right here. Now it's not moving at all because I grabbed the frame. And let's see. So calibration. Here's the calibrating menu here. And it says it wants the pixel number for the zeroth order component, which is right over here. So I'm going to give it that. And what I use for that is, I I have a couple of measuring bars that show, and I put it right on the peak of the image of the star there, and I can read off the centroid, which is 171. So 171 pixels marks the center of that peak. And the wavelength for this location is 0. And then I need to click on a pixel in the profile. I'm actually going to well, we can do that. We can pick on a pixel in the profile. So if I go here to my graph, I can pick on a pixel right here, which is in the middle. And then we can enter the wavelength, which is 4861. 4861 is a cyan blue color. And then apply. And we get a spectrum now down below. And you'll notice the whole scale is changed now into angstrom. So we have calibrated the spectrum, and now we have angstrom. Okay, so then up at the top here, I have an option of checking things out. So I can, among other things, I can pick a hydrogen mask. So here's the mask that shows the Balmer emission lines for hydrogen. And this is quite cool. So let me zoom in on this for a minute so we can look at that. So this dip over here is hydrogen alpha. This would be alpha at 656 nanometers. And actually we could take a measuring line and we can move it right to here and see what it reads. Look at that, 656.2 nanometers. Boy, is that getting good. So that's a pretty good calibration. And then we can look at some of these other sites up here. Here's the line we calibrated, which is for 4861 nanometers right here. And then here's gamma. This is the gamma line over here. It should be at 4340. And then here's the delta line. And we can't read, and that's a dip actually right there in the spectrum. And so we see four real legitimate emission lines in the spectrum of gamma triangulate. This is a star that's rotating very, very fast. And so the lines are smeared out a little bit and Doppler shifted. So there's a blue shift and a red shift a little bit, enough to broaden the line and make it a little more conspicuous. And it's one reason why gamma triangulate, in my book, is a good star to calibrate a spectrum on for a beginner like me. So that's kind of neat. And then down below is a color spectrum that draws on the curve up above. And you can see that there is the beta line right here. That's beta. And here's gamma. And here's delta. Doesn't perfectly match with the line up of the curve up above, but it does correspond to it. Alpha right here is harder for us to see. And then if you want, we can colorize the whole curve and do that. And I think this is absolutely remarkable. We can see that this is a Class A star. A lot of the bright stars around our neighborhood that we see when we look up are Class A. They're very bright, and they're relatively common, and so we see them. Class A stars are bigger than the sun. Our sun is G class, which is cooler, and it's yellow, overall yellow color. This class is white. The A class is white, and you can see that the blue part of the spectrum is pretty greatly enhanced. We'll go to another star that compares with this next. We can go to Mira and take a look at that. And we'll see that Mira is completely different in its spectrum from this one. This is a very clean, beautiful spectrum. It's a bluish-white star. It has the very distinct Balmer lines. Now, there are other lines in here in the spectrum, and I haven't figured all of them out yet. I know that there is some sodium going on in this region. So there's sodium emissions from neutral sodium and ionized sodium both. And then one of the first lines to show up over here between delta and gamma, beta, delta and gamma, but I think it's here, maybe gamma and epsilon, is calcium. So eventually there will be to be seen, but not in this spectrum, calcium line. So as the stars get cooler, more and more elements begin to appear. This star, like I said, it's about maybe approaching to about twice the size of our sun. The temperature of the star is about also twice. Our sun is maybe 5,000 degrees Kelvin, and this is 10,000 degrees Kelvin. And that's hot enough to ionize hydrogen. And it allows us to, photons escaping from the star are absorbed by the atmosphere of the star on the surface. And so that light is blocked out, and we see these dark emission bands. Hydrogen has to be excited by energy and just heat to hot enough a temperature that it will reach a state where it can absorb light. And it absorbs and gives these what are called absorption lines. If you heat hydrogen hot enough and it gets ionized and then super ionized, it will fluoresce. It'll give off light, and then you see these same locations, you see emission peaks in the spectrum rather than troughs, the way we're seeing it here. Our sun is cool enough it doesn't show these, but very weakly. We can see the hydrogen bands, but there's some of the Fraunhofer lines of the sun, but they're quite hard to make out. So now that we've done all that, I think I can play the video, and we can look at the real spectrum of gamma trianguli flashing around here. So that's kind of neat. And then a purist, when they look at their spectra, they don't necessarily do it that way. They would, if I go up here and just save an image, so I can save in the main profile gamma trianguli. And I'll give it I'll call it number 1, and the date today is 12/15/17. And I'll save it. Where's it going to save to? Oh, I want to save it to, let's save it to test again. Okay, and then I can open that as a single image. So let me do that. Put away the calibration wizard. Okay, so open from test, gamma triangulate. See, I didn't do it right. I have to go to single file, image file, and now open and test. And there should be, there it is. This is the one that I saved. That says save AI. Okay, so this is the one that I saved. The dat file. Okay, so open that one. Oh, use the open button on the right-hand toolbar. Okay, test. Let's try it again. Open. Oh, here, right-hand toolbar. There it is. So this is opening our single image that we've saved. And then what I'm going to do is now open a reference image. And we're going to open an instrument response curve for the camera. Gee, did I make, I don't know if I've done this or not yet. So you would open an instrument response curve like, here's number 3. I'm embarrassed to say I don't remember if I made one for the new camera. This, I think, is for the DS2.3. And then you do an operation called simple math under the reference here. And you divide the main one by the reference, and you get a difference curve. Oh, which is this one. That doesn't look too bad. Okay, so move it to the main profile and close this out and get rid of the reference.
And wisdom. Do you understand why you're here?
Close the reference curve, and now I want to essentially get rid of this block right here. I'm going to delete it with a command called edit points. Yeah, so I can see this. And now I can go ahead. It's all calibrated. So I can go back here still and call up the Balmer series. So there they are. Alpha, which I can barely see. And then beta. Here's alpha here. Okay, this is alpha. And here's beta, which is right here on the border between green and blue in the cyan area. You see that diffuse grayish band right in there? That's beta. And here's gamma. And here's delta.
Do you have something to confess?
So that's what the formal display is for stars. And the spectra show from short wavelength up to long wavelength on the right. And they usually have this kind of a profile. And the nice thing we can do is see if we can match against some standard stars. So that's another thing we can do. Let me get rid of this and erase. And I can go to reference and I can look at reference library. And you can see all these stars that are in this table. So on the left are the A stars, then B stars, and then F and G and K. And you can move this cursor and you can see what a star like Gamma Triangulum is an A, I think it's an A1V. Here's an A0V. This is like Vega, very similar to Vega. And you can see that we're a good match for that. A2V. It may be something like that. It would be fun to look up Gamma Trianguli and see what kind of a spectrum they say it belongs. Okay, so let me close out of this. And you know what we're going to do? Let's go to another star. Let's take a look at a star called Lyra, which is Omicron Ceti. I'll close the reference, and I'll close out these little submenus. And let's just go over there and take a look. That wasn't such a bad job. The software, as you saw, is a little bit involved. It takes a while to get used to all of these features, but the basic things are pretty quick to do. So let's get rid of the and MallinCam Sky. Looks like my camera has stalled on me. If I go to default, that was it. Oh, still there. Great. So I can magnify that. I can use the tool in Sky Tools to move my spectrum over and center it better. That's working too. Okay, so let's go now to Sky Tools. And what I'm interested in is the map, and going to Omicron Ceti. If I can find Ceti, and here he is here. There's the head. It's right down here. Okay, so I'm going to click. Not too bad. It's near the meridian. This is a spectacular star. There's Omicron right there, and it's even colorized reddish. But it's quite a red star, as we're going to see. Actually, we can see the red in my color camera only because of the pseudo-coloration that we get with RSpec. But it works pretty well. Okay, so I will open or slew the cursor here for Omicron. Now this is dimmer still, so I'm going to have to use a little bit longer exposure time on it. Here comes the telescope. Okay, let's see if it nailed it. And I don't see a thing. Let me see what we can do here. Oh, I see it there. Oh, there were clouds. That's what it was. Okay, so I'm going to center this a little bit better. There we are. So I have the spectrum in the middle of my camera, and what I'm going to do now is adjust this exposure time. I have it on 500 milliseconds right now. I'm going to reduce it a little bit down so we don't see the oh, it's fading out just as I go to look at it with you. Well, while it's thinking about what the clouds are up to, let me take the ROI tool and snag it. ROI, And let's bring it down and around.
Punish me. That's not fair. She didn't deserve it. My wife and my children didn't deserve it. Now I might. Because
So hopefully the clouds will part and we'll see the spectrum again in a second.
in great sorrow.
And I'm ready to pounce now to record a quick 2-second video.
But isn't like this was not God's doing. He doesn't stop a lot of things that cause him pain. What happened to recently was the book of
Oh, come on.
I know that your world is immune from it.
Oh, it's getting dark.
You want the promise of
What's going on?
There isn't.
I saw it there very faintly.
Free not to follow God. Evil can find a way. There is.
It's amazing we can see anything tonight. There's quite a haze and it's just thick enough that it's... Let me take it up to a second. And just record that. Oh. Okay. Something didn't work right. Let me see. Options, preferences, and I should label this Lyra. And it's going to the folder called test. Oh, you have to hit Lyra test. You have to hit apply and then okay. All right, looks all right. I don't know why it dragged its feet. Let's see what we've got recorded here. So here's an AVI.
She can't hear you.
We'll go ahead with that one. Okay, so let's go over to RSpec.
No. But she knows you're here.
I'll open the program again.
More than you know.
And now click on video. And I will open for Lyra. Here's Lyra. And for some reason, it captured the whole length of the profile. But that's okay. Let's see what I can do with it. Okay, so play this. And let's see, it's only 2 frames and it's full frame. This was full frame. So that means the ROI was not working right over in the other side. So let's go back over there. MallinCam Sky. Well, I don't know what more I can do than video. And then I go down here to ROI default. I have a live video image, but I can't make, maybe if I close out from the ROI, open it up. Ah, it didn't apply. That's all. Okay, so now I know what to do. There we go. And let's, sorry about that, folks. It's very embarrassing. There we go. And now I'm going to capture that. Oh, I didn't apply it yet. Well, here we go again. Okay, so go down here. ROI. Okay, apply. There it is. There it is. And now I can record it. It says I'm recording. I don't think it worked right. Let's see. Default. Okay, and then you isolate your area.
Maybe we can start growing together without it.
Apply RI when, then close RI window. Oh, okay. I will do that. We got some clouds up there, so it's alternately blocking it, and it's completely blocked now. Hang on a second. So I did apply it, but I need to, no, I haven't applied it.
You understand now. I can work with Rainbow good.
There is apply.
That doesn't mean
I got to see the image in the window. There it comes. And now he says get rid of the ROI window and then go up and record this thing.
Why would you keep working on me? Because that's what love does.
Well, let me see how we have set up. It should be rolling along at a great pace, like 20 frames a second. Well, it says frame rate is 0.7. Mark, what do I do now? That frame rate on that little ROI should be humming, but it's not. Yeah, and I have set up, I have a frame limit of 50 frames, which is perfect. So I like that. I like the setup for the capture, but and the video is live in the ROI framed area. Let's just if I put this in RGB and snap a picture, I can get a picture taken. And if I go back to RAW, I think I'd probably have to do this all over again with ROI. Oh, I have to go back here. There we go. There it is. And now frame it. Let's go to video and make sure it is running. Well, okay, here we go. Apply. Get rid of ROI. There it is. The video is live. Record. Frame rate is 0.5. So that's not right. That's why I can't see anything. Okay, let's see if I open up. If the frame rate is 0.7, it means it's recording the full frame. So if I go to RSpec and look at one of these frames, select the most recent one. Open, in video, Lyra, open. Nothing.
I'm so sorry for everything.
Okay.
I was blind. I couldn't see anyone.
If I can only jog the ROI into action, maybe I should just reload
I forgive you.
the camera program.
Never be. I'm so proud of you.
So we reload MallinCam Sky. Look at the image. There it is. Looks nice. And we will go down here to ROI and select this area.
I'll see you again soon.
Something like that is nice. And then click apply. Frame rate is 0.8. Maybe, you know what it might be? It might be my affinity.
Good morning, son. You're messing with me, aren't you? Oh, always. For what we have to do today, you're going to need a father.
Let's see. Well, clearly I have more to do. And learning about my MallinCam Sky. Apply. It is applied. And the thing is that the frame rate of the camera is, oh, you know what? Mark, I keep dropping out. My head is moving. My head is probably moving back and forth. You know what I think it is it's so cold outside. Maybe the DS16m camera is not functioning well in the extreme cold. It's about 25 degrees outside. Would that do it? Maybe so.
Please don't. Son, we're on a healing trail.
Yeah.
This part of your journey.
Okay. Well, I'm going to sign off, I guess, because there's not much really I can do anymore. If I snap a picture here of Lyra, when it gets bright, I can expand it. And, you know, RGB. So there you can see a lot of bands, and we were going to analyze them. They don't, as it turns out, none of them really corresponds to hydrogen. So we have a whole new family of emission lines with this star. The blue part of the spectrum from Lyra is way down here, so it's hardly anything. And most of the spectrum is out here in the infrared where we can't see and the camera can't see, and in the red, which is this part in here. Mark thinks it shouldn't be a problem for the camera. How about my USB cable? But the video image coming in is live. I have no trouble with the video image. It's the camera frame rate in the software, and I even reloaded the program. Well, I can write Rock and Jack about it tomorrow and see what they have to say. Let's go back and take a look here. Maybe if I pick a bigger ROI region. And in any case, it's all cloudy out there now. Yeah, we'll have to do this another time when I get a little more practiced and when we get a decent sky. Maybe tomorrow night. Mark, thanks for hanging in there with me. I wished it had worked out better than it did. It's a lot of fun to do. I've really enjoyed using RSpec and looking at stars in a completely different way. Okay, so you could try reducing the resolution, and that will speed up the frame rate. Mean digital binning. Oh, the resolution at the top. Yeah, I could go down to 2304 by 1700. Let's see what that does. So this is on chip binning. It's completely clouded up outdoors there. I can here just make out the star. So if I grabbed it here, says frame rate 0.8, Mark, down at the bottom. I can't shake that. Huh. There's also a frame rate that's part of a slider for frame rate. As long as it says that at the bottom the rate is very slow, 0.8, it really is just stuck there. I guess what I would have to do is reboot the computer. Well, let's do this. I have snapped a picture right here, but it's a, let me save it, batch save it into the folder called test. This is Lyra, and it is 12, 15, 17, and it's going into the test folder as a fits file. That's fine. And then over in RSpec, I can open up the single frame, test, mirror, AVIs, raw, where in the Harry's is it? I can't quite get it. So Mark, is it you getting dropped by your internet connection or me? Yeah, I'll have to check with Rock about the frame rate business. Maybe he'll have an answer for that. I'm trying to open this picture I just saved. Oh, let me go back for a minute and try it again. So there it is, saved. It is very long. It's a saved it as a PNG. Oh, Lordy. Well, let's see if I can find it over here in RSpec. Open. PNG file. That's this one. PNG. Even here, I don't know what's going on. I can't see my star at all. Not even with a histogram, it's just a blank frame. Lyra, PNG. There it is. Now I should be able to open that in the RSpec as a PNG. Open. From the test folder. Lyra PNG.
She lives in a place where there's no impatient, so she doesn't long wait.
Well, there we go. Whoa. Oh, that wasn't fun. Okay. Okay, so now that we have calibrated from before, and I can go ahead and recalibrate this image, getting us into angstroms on the angstrom scale. So I'm doing the 0 wavelength, this location. pixel 153, and then that's going to correspond to angstrom 0, and then I'm going to use my dispersion from the last grating, and I remember it was 8.6. Last image, gamma triangulate. So 8.6, apply and close. And so there's the spectrum for Lyra. Wow, you can see how different this is from gamma triangulate. That was a very blue star, and now the blue isn't even hardly showing on this graph. The blue in this spectrum is this part down here, and it's so low in amplitude it's just showing as black right now on the screen. And then if you look at where is our hydrogen friends that we calibrated from the last time, I can click for hydrogen, and there's the Balmer series for hydrogen, and they're essentially no minima showing here at all. And it turns out that this is such a cool star. It's about the size of the orbit of Mars, and it's a red giant, very bloated in the terminal stages of its life. And it's quite irregular now. It has these pulsing variations in its intensity, and it's very famous for that reason. But it's also famous for its spectrum, and you can see these very pronounced looking features. Here, I'll zoom in on it so you can see better. And what those are absorption bands for molecules. Most of this is titanium oxide, believe it or not. I don't know why that would be, but titanium oxide in this very cool surface atmosphere, relatively cool, like it's half the temperature of the sun. It's not that cool, but cool enough that molecules remain intact, and the molecules are absorbing profoundly. I don't know why that is. I've got to find out why molecules do such a good job of that. But titanium oxide is absorbing across the visual spectrum. And if you look at a formal graph of this thing, virtually the whole thing, all these emission troughs that we see are due to a series of bands from titanium oxide. Okay, well, that's what I wanted to show you, and we could have done a better job of it, and I wanted to show you another work through of how you work up these spectra, but it'll have to wait till I get the problem figured out. Okay, Mark, I'm going to sign off now. Thanks a lot for sticking with me tonight. We'll try this again another time. Oh, on the RI frame rate, I just did the same with my DS16C at max resolution, and I see 5 to 7 frame rate. Set the ROI to a small area, and the frame rate runs up into the 300 plus rate. Yeah, that's how it should behave. I'm thinking it's some part of the circuit's affected by the cold, and I'm not able to get it somehow. I don't know. Don't know why that would be. The frame rate looks normal. I mean, it's a rapid refresh on the screen. Well, I'll tell you what it was when I do figure it out. So I'm signing off now, and see you next time. Good night.